a lot of times people have these low deck flatbeds. Some of the diversity, different ways you can use this is obviously you can haul cargo, which this one's never had cargo on it, but you can haul tractors and some other things on it, but you can also haul vehicles on it. Now, when you haul vehicles on it, the tie downs are a bit different. The tie downs on a typical wedge or low profile typical car trailer, over under car trailer, semi trailer, everybody's gone over to now the soft tie systems that wrap around the tire, and they bind up, they pinch the tire within that, and then they hook on further down on the ramp. And that's a great system, and I think they work really great. But on these guys, or even the deck overs where the tire's under the deck, you know, when you tie them down, there's different types of systems out there. Some people just use chains. But I'm going to show you a little something today on this. I have our little fine feathered friend here that I had to pick up, and I'm going to show you a couple of tips that I can handle, that I can give to you about how to tie one of these down on a flatbed or one of these low decks. This is our Lamar 43-foot flatbed low deck, and if you notice how low the deck really is, to give it some scale, this is about, as you can see, you know, this is just above my knee. That's how low this is, which works out really well when you're going to transport something, especially like a truck or something like that. I've had a bus on here before, and so the height of it doesn't become a problem. These are vehicles like, I had some of those new Amazon electric vans that they just got that are real top, really high, and those you pretty much have to put on one of these. We have used a low profile that we had to carry on before, but when you put a vehicle on here, you know, there's a lot of ways you can tie these down. Sometimes you can go and you can use your chains and you can hook them up to different things. You can get your body frame hooks and put them here, and then come down and hook a chain to it. But the most popular way that I've seen, and most people use it, is they use this type of tie down strap that has the single hoop in it, and they go through the wheel, right? So they go through the wheel, and then of course it attaches here to your ratchet. And then, you know, when you get through with your excess, after you've ratcheted it down tight, and you get through with your excess, you collapse it. You want to make sure this is sitting over top of there, you know, so it's straight. And then you collapse this down, and then of course you put this back down through here, like that, so it doesn't flap in the wind as you're driving. But, and everybody pretty much does that, but here's the difference. You see where that one goes through the wheel? Now the other thing is with this, you can't always put them through the wheel. Most cars today do have an alloy wheel of some kind. You can usually get them through there. But there are some you can't, and on those you can still use these. You just have to go underneath it and connect it to something underneath there and run it out and connect it there. But I want to talk about this today. I've seen this done many times where they hook it to the wheel, and that's great. This is where you want to hook it to the wheel. If you notice, it's not here. That would be too low, and it would actually cause the pressure of the wheel to turn backwards, right? It's not up here, and I'm going to show you an example of that, where it causes the wheel to turn down. It's here, so the pressure on the wheel is to come forward only, not to move down, not to move up, but forward only. If you put it in the wrong position, where it's too high, then the truck will keep continuously try to pull forward. It's actually pulling it forward, and if that wheel, and this has happened, if it rains and you have a wooden deck like most of them do like this, if it rains, that wheel can actually, on a bump, it can turn and turn. Next thing you know, this is loose. Now we'll walk back here in the back, because I'm going to show you a difference. If you notice, this one is a little higher than the front one, but I'm also a lot shorter to where I'm tying it to the trailer. So if you notice the angle of it, even though it's pulling down on it, it's still pulling back at a pretty good angle, so it won't get as loose. If it does turn, it won't get as loose. And again, this has to do with the spoke on the wheel. I could have put it here, but what's the problem with that? There's a valve stem in the way. And if you ever put this across a valve stem, it can break the valve stem. Now, most newer valve stems, they would probably be okay. Some of them are steel, they'll be all right, they could bend, but they won't break. First time you get one, and it has a dry rotted valve stem, you get to where you're going, that tire's flat. And you don't want to have to deal with a flat. So we come back up here to the front again, and I'll look at this one, and I'm going to show you. If you look at the angle on where that's at, you see how it's actually lower, but the contact point is further forward than it is on the back. Now, that brings up another interesting idea. Can you ever put it up on the top of here so that actually when you look at the wheel, could you go up here with it? And then, because it'll pull down this way, but it'll pull on that spoke, and actually, like I said, a good bump, wet trailer, this thing can turn. If it turns, that thing becomes just a little bit loose. Once it becomes loose, now the vehicle can move back and forth and tug on your strap, tug on your binder, and it can actually get even looser as you go down the road. So the reality is, the further forward you can put this, the better off you are. So if you had to come from the top right here, you want to go way forward to reduce the angle. If we go back to the back and we look at this one, where it's connected to, if you notice the angle is different, it's pulling down on it, but even if it turns from there to there, you're not going to get much slack. Whereas the front one, if it was up top turning from there to the neutral position, where the angle would catch it, it's going to be a lot of slack. I'm going to walk around the other side and show you something on the front. And I did this on purpose because I wanted to demonstrate what I was talking about. Okay, so if we look at this wheel, I actually hooked this one much higher. It actually goes through way up on top of the clock at about a 1 o'clock position. Now if both of the front wheels were tied up like this, and again, you hit a hard bump, this thing moves around, the tire can actually, under enough pressure, that tire can actually turn, especially because this is not a drive wheel on a pickup truck like this. That's a drive wheel, but it's an open differential drive wheel, which means the back can also turn on one side or the other. It can't turn on both sides, but it can turn on one side or the other. So in this case, if this thing hits a bump and it starts to turn, where the contact point is here, it's not here, this is the buckle point. The contact point is actually back here. So if it turns at all, and this drops clean down to here, it'll go from this position. You can see the difference. If I give you that representation, it's that far, that means there's that much slack in the rest of this line. And that's plenty enough slack to let that guy move around. And if both sides are done the same way, and both sides turn, then it can cause slack on both the front and back. Now the whole vehicle can travel backwards. And when that happens, depending on what you've got going on back here, and you now have a loose front and you have a loose back, the vehicle can move backwards under acceleration and can move forwards. If you have an automatic transmission vehicle like this one is, and you have set the emergency brake, if it's rear-wheel drive, you still only have locked down the back tires, not the front tires. So that's why you have to do this. You have to make sure that when you put this on there, that you put it at the proper angle, which would be at about the 3 o'clock position forward, is where you want to do, and then you don't want to hit your valve stem. Thanks for watching.